Hello and welcome back, all you wonderful people, to Lynch Paints, where today Lynch is going to be showing you how to paint the stormtroopers from the Star Wars Legion Core box set. I'm going to be kicking it off with the sergeant of the squad, and I'm going to run through with you step by step on exactly how to achieve this. And by the end, you'll have something that looks just like this stormtrooper. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first step we're going to do is we're going to take our Abaddon Black. I've already pre-based this model, just to save a little bit of time, because it does take a little while for that basing medium to dry. So I'm just going to thin down this black, and what we're going to be doing first is his Under Armour, his weapon, and we're going to do his holster as well. So I'm just going to go ahead, take a medium-sized brush, and we're going to get into all the nooks and crannies. Doesn't matter too much if you do go over onto the white armour, because we can always patch that up later with a bit of white. Okay, so that stage is complete. One thing I did do is that I took out one of my smaller, finer brushes just to do round his helmet, so the face grill, the rim around the top, and the rebreathers on his face. Just to help out, just because I was using a chunkier brush. Now, I'm going to move on to the next step, which is going to be using the Apothecary White contrast paint. And we are going to take same size brush as before, quite kind of chunky base brush. Water it down just a tad, just apply it with a wet brush, and then we're going to take this and go just kind of under the armour. You don't have to be too neat with this, which is quite good. And I'm just going to go all over the white, cover it entirely with this, and what it will do, similarly to a wash, it will set in the creases, create a darker colour. But what contrast paint does as well is that if you're using a red, for instance, it will make the brighter end of the paint sit brighter. Alright, now that is dry, we're going to go back over some of the areas with a little bit of white scar. Just gotta give it a shake. Gotta beat the devil out of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the raised areas and doing a bit of edge highlighting. So we're going to grab some onto our medium size brush. You can use a smaller brush if you'd like as well. And then we're going to just brush up on some of these, just restoring the clear, cleaner white, because after the wash it has made it a little bit more greyish kind of blue, which is fantastic, because of course white is never truly white when it comes to armour. You want it to be a bit of an off-white. So that contrast paint really does help. It's fantastic. It's a great liquid talent. And just slap it on, and away you go. There is a bit of a sort of a black mark there, but we can just tidy that away. Luckily, it's kind of nearly on the fold, on a crease, on an edge even. You can just highlight that away. So I'm just going to carry on highlighting, and yeah, we'll be back for the next step. I'm going to sort of blend some of this a little bit as well, just to give it just a little extra something. I mean, this is the sergeant, you know, so we can add in a little bit more detail, but your standard stormtroopers, you can just sort of ignore any blending, unless you want to do, of course, you know, it's your world. and you can do what you like, but most of the time, just your standard Troops choice. Just give it a wash, give it a highlight. Normally, that should do it. We're going to carry on with this, and we'll be back with one of the final steps. So now we're done with the highlighting. I'm going to move on to using some Fire Dragon Bright Orange. I'm going to do that iconic shoulder pad that we have here. I do have another squad leader as part of the core set, and I've done him with the red shoulder pad. So as you start to build up this force, you can have your leaders with different colour shoulder pads. I'm going to water the paint down a bit and just apply with a medium sized brush. No, I've got some orange on the plate, but that's alright, because we will fix that up in a mo. It will be a bit streaky at first, but we're going to let it dry before we do the next layer, otherwise you start to remove some of the paint that's already underneath, like there, and it starts to get a bit claggy. Just going to wait for that to dry. I'm just going to fix that bit up there and do the second layer in a mo. So I thought, just to show you how I would go about fixing this, is because it's running along an area that we've already used the contrast paint, it's going to be very hard to replicate that kind of grey blend. So I'm going to get my whites, pure white, water down a little bit. I'm just going to kind of go and just dab along the orange. Water down just a little bit more. And then, I suppose what you could do is that you could turn that mark into some battle damage, which I'm probably going to do. But if you weren't, what you can do is grab a grey. I'm going to use this Administratum grey, and what we're going to do, I'm going to just try and replicate that shade of grey. So I'm going to get this, water down just a tad. I'm going to go all over this chest piece. Bit too water. Dry it off a little bit. And I'm just going to let that dry, and then in the meantime, while that's drying, we can move back over to the orange. So I'm just going to rinse my brush off. And then I'm going to go the opposite way to the first way that I've brushed it, and this helps to reduce brush marks. So if you kind of work from left to right, and then in the next coat you kind of go up and down, it just helps to hide any potential brush marks. Can get a bit fiddly, but it's definitely worth it, and you get a much nicer finish. We're just going to be careful along this edge, because we don't want to flick any more orange marks onto the white armour. So that's looking quite good. It's going to need another coat. Then we're going to go back to our chest plate. Grab a little bit. Do another layer. That's quite dark, so I'm just going to brush a bit off onto my thumb. I gotta be honest, when you are painting, thumbs are fantastic. I mean, obviously for holding models, but just for getting rid of that little bit of excess paint that's on your brush, it's just fantastic. And it's right there to hand. Pardon the pun. I'm going to wipe a bit of white. And I'm going to take the white from the middle here, where it's going to be the most brightest. I'm going to grade it in. Blend it in. Because my brush is still a bit damp as well, you see. So that's just going to help just to blend it in nicely. And then I'm just going to finish up with highlighting that edge again. Then I'll go around, do the middle bit, and that's all fixed. Now it's on to the third coat of orange. Nice smooth brush strokes. I'm not going all the way to the edge because I do want to leave a bit of dark there. So that will help just to create a bit of shadow. And now I know in the films the shoulder pad has got like a black trim and then it's got a couple of black lines on, which you can do, or you can leave it as is. I might come back to it and add those lines on, but next I'm going to move over to his gun holster. Okay, so the gun holster, and the colours we're going to be using are Abaddon Black and Mornfang. Mornfang? Yeah, Mornfang Brown. This one. And then we're going to do a ratio of about 50-50. Water it down so we get a nice, some dark leathery colour. And then get to do brush strokes going down the way. I'm going to try and work quickly here with this, because while the paint's still wet we can do a bit of wet blending. Right, so without washing your brush, it's going to just wipe a bit of excess off here on our good old Hermes. Grab a bit more of just pure brown. Get some of that off onto your palette of choice. And then we're going to apply that straight on around the top there. Get a bit of excess off. And then we're just going to blend that in. Same with up here. I'm just kind of using little sort of stipply strokes, little mini strokes. Just to dab that in there. A bit more. That pure brown. And then we're just going to work in a slightly smaller and smaller surface area as we go along. And that creates a nice blend. At the top. Water it down a smidge, and now we're just going to do the very edges. Down the side. Little edge there. And you can, if you like, you can use the lightest colour that you've used, which in this instance would be this brown. And you can do a couple of lines just to represent a bit of texture, a bit of worn, a bit of weathering. But what I might do is grab a lighter brown just to really make a better contrast. So I'm going to use Talon Sand. Just going to grab a little bit of that, mix it in water it down. Maybe about a 60-40, 50-50 mix. Thereabouts. And then I'm just going to use just the edge of the tip of the brush just to highlight the top there. I'm going to work down a bit where I've been before with the highlighting. Up here, these little nubbins. Top of those bits. And then down the side. Now, I'm going to use a little bit more to make it a bit brighter. And then we're going to say one about here. One, that's a bit thick. I would advise using a smaller brush with this bit. Sometimes less is more, so I'm going to leave it like that. A bit more. Water it down. Thin line. That'll do. Now, I think we're nearly there. Just going to do the red for the lens of the blaster. So for that, I'm going to grab my Mephiston red. Grab a bit of Abaddon black. Do a quick little 50-50 mix. Don't need you anymore. And then we want the lens, just about there, and the other side there. I'm going to switch over to a thinner brush. And then we're just going to gradually just add in a little bit more red each time. Because it is such a small surface area, we can afford just to jump up a little bit in terms of colour. Leave it there, wash that off, and then apply a straight red. Get the camera to focus. A bit better. Highlight just the side there. And then that bit there. Brilliant. Gonna grab a bit of that orange. And then I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter, just on this edge here of this lens. Focus. A bit better. And then a tiny little dot of white. Teeny tiny. We want to look for the middle. Yeah. There we go. Looks pretty good. So now, I'm going to move on to the base. So bases are fun. Bases can be interesting. They can sort of define your army about where they are, who they are, what they're fighting. But for me, I'm just going to go a little bit sort of plain, a bit boring. I'm going to do grey rocks, which is just easy really. And then I'm going to pop on some snow effects at the end. So I'm going to grab our Abaddon Black as well as some Storm Vermin Fur, and we want a 50-50 mix and get that watered down a little bit. We want a bit of a knackered sort of brush for this. Everyone's got a basing brush, and then we want to cover the entire base with this mix. It does help to water it down because then that will allow you to kind of get into all the cracks and crevices. You can instead use a wash and kind of slap that all over the top, and that will get into everywhere that you need. And then you can dry brush over the top with whatever colour you like, with what sort of theme you're going for. If it's Forest Endor theme, then you're looking at browns to start out with, very kind of dark earthy colours. You want to build them up to sort of a lighter brown, adding in green, just a tiny bit of green into your mixtures as you go, because that creates the kind of the main source of colour, and then add what sort of foliage that you have. If you're going for Hoth, which is how I'm basing my miniatures, it's going to be kind of grey rocks, quite dreary, quite boring, and then fill it with snow. And then if you're doing Mustafar, then you're looking at a very kind of dark sort of basalt, sort of grey, sort of what I've got at the minute really. And then you can get some fantastic, wonderful sort of textured paints that make the ground crack, and then within that you can then wash oranges and yellows and all your fiery colours, and then that will help to create lava coming up. So I'm just going to grab a lighter grey, back to that Administratum grey, and then I'm just going to, I know it's still wet, but I'm just going to do a dry brush, not so dry brush over the top, and that also just blends it in a little bit as well. Cool, so we're nearly about there, and then I'll let this dry before we put our snow effect paint on, because of course if we put our snow effect paint down now, it will, as you kind of blobbing it on, it's going to turn into grey slush, and we don't like grey slush, we like nice white pristine snow. So I'm going to cut ahead to that, and I'll see you guys in a mo. Okay, now it is time to let it snow with Valhalla Blizzard texture paint. Now we're going to want to use a tired old brush like this one. The reason being is that within Valhalla Blizzard it's a very textured paint. It's got sort of tiny little, I don't know whether it's sand or sort of rock or plastic, I'm not too sure, but basically what it will do is that it will get into your bristles in between the hairs, and if you don't wash it out properly then it can cause it to split and look horrible. So you don't want to use your nice brush for this, you want to use something that's been through the years, you know, something that's been well used and no longer used for finer things. Now you will notice that I have gone over this Sergeant and just given him some battle damage, so all it was really is that I just did a mixture 50-50 of Abaddon Black and Vermin, Storm Vermin Fur, not leather, to create a very dark brown, dark grey, and then just water that down, little brush strokes, just to create some scratches and just kind of mark him just on the edge of his armour. So I'm going to take our snow and get a lump and then just go wherever you'd like it to snow. Shouldn't take too long to dry, and when it's dry, I'm going to drop the model, I'm going to throw it. It's done now, that's it. No. Now it is done. No, wait. More over there. Oh, I could go on forever, but I won't. I'll leave it like that. Yes, stop it. Right. Now we're done with the snow. We'll leave that to dry and then we should be finished. And here we have it, the end result. Our finished Star Wars Stormtrooper Sergeant alongside his squad. So if you follow these steps, you'll be able to achieve exactly what you see here with the entire squad. This is part of the Star Wars Legion core box set, and I'm going to be making a series of how to paint every single model from the core box set. So next up I'll be doing a video on the speeder bikes, and then I'll be moving on to the Rebel forces. If you did enjoy watching this video, then please, you know what to do. Hit like, subscribe if you're new, and comment down below. Let me know how this painting tutorial went for you, and let me know if there's anything I can do to improve. That'd be greatly appreciated. There's also links down there to my affiliate link with Wayland Games. They're a UK-based retailer that sell every single tabletop game system you can think of, including card games as well, and also including, of course, Star Wars Legion. So if you want to go down there and save some money on your favourite tabletop games, then click the link below, and a little bit just goes to help me and my channel out, and it doesn't cost you anything more than that. I also, not long ago, set up a Patreon page, so if you want to go and check me out as well, if you like the stuff that I do and want to help support me to continue the things I do, then please feel free to take a look at the different levels. I've got a couple of little levels on there. Most of them revolve around some entries into prize giveaways, so I'll be doing one very, very soon for the end of March. Not quite sure what yet, but I'll see what interest I get on there, and yeah, I'll be making posts onto there and my Instagram page at Lynch Paints of what the prizes are going to be. So if you feel like entering that, and then yeah, click the link below, and again, that will then help me to create more videos, tutorials, hopefully battle reports I'm hoping to start up soon as well. So any help will be massively appreciated. Even just liking this video and sharing it with your friends, that'd be super. So take care, stay safe, stay beautiful, and we'll see you next time.